Good morning, third graders. This is the next installment of the book Summer of the Woods. And today I'll be reading chapters 9 and 10. So, here we go. Chapter 9, The Treasure. Sam's nose smelled the morning before his eyes opened to see it. The unmistakable aroma of breakfast on the campfire cut through the cool air and wafted into the tent. His stomach growled loudly, and he crawled out of his sleeping bag and unzipped the tent flap. Dad was cooking eggs and sausage over the fire. "Good morning, Sleeping Beauty," welcomed Dad. "Morning," answered Sam. "I'm starving." The smell of sausages was making his mouth water. He looked around and then added, "Where's Derek?" "I'm not sure, actually. He was out of the tent when I woke up. I don't like him going on a hike by himself without telling me. Not this far into the woods. I was just getting ready to go look for him. Did he tell you where he was going?" Sam looked at his dad and then back at the tent, but didn't say anything. "Sam, is there something you need to tell me?" "Well, Sam, where is your brother?" repeated Dad. "Well, it's kind of a long story, Dad." Then he explained all that had happened with the coins, the secret compartment, the map, and the boulder. Dad's eyes opened wider and wider as Sam told his story. "I don't understand why you didn't tell me about all this, Sam. You showed me the wheat penny. Why did the rest of it have to be a big secret?" "Well, Derek said it would be cooler if we found the treasure all by ourselves," Sam tried to explain. And now that he said it aloud, it didn't sound like such a great idea. He knew he should have told Dad no matter what Derek said. "If your brother is hunting around an abandoned mine, that is very dangerous, Sam. Mine passageways are notorious for collapsing. I'm trying to let you guys have some freedom to explore the woods on your own. But I need to be able to trust you to do the right thing and tell me things like this. And I need your brother to be responsible enough to know better than to go into a mine. Let's get this food put away quickly so we can go look for him before it's too late." Sam felt bad. He was glad that Dad had let them have some freedom, some liberty. He thought back to what Mom had said about Patrick Henry and his "give me liberty or give me death" speech and gulped. He prayed that Derek was okay. Derek lay trapped under the rubble, deep inside the cave, surrounded by the treasure of coins, trying not to think about his throbbing foot. It was ironic, he thought. That was a word that he'd heard his parents and teachers use. He thought it meant that things were the opposite of what you think they should be. It was ironic that he was here next to the lost coins, but yet he really didn't care. He was lost, and he only wanted to go home. He wondered how long he'd been stuck in the cave. It seemed like hours, maybe even days, so hard to tell in the dark. He wished he'd brought his watch with him from the tent. He started to imagine that he saw the coins dancing around him through the chilly air, but he knew it was just his mind playing tricks on him. He was getting really thirsty. He thought of his old home and how he never would have had to worry about getting trapped in a cave there. Maybe hit by a truck standing on the busy street corner waiting for the bus, but no caves. He tried to decide which was a better way to go, getting hit by a Mack truck or dying of thirst in a dark cave. Why did they have to move to stupid Virginia anyhow? Right about the time that he was imagining his death, Derek heard a noise. He tried to focus his mind and held his breath and listened. Yes, there it was again. Sounded like voices. "Help! Down here! Help me!" screamed Derek as loud as he could. His cries echoed through the cave. The voices seemed to be getting closer, but it was hard to tell. "Help!" "Hey, I think it's coming from over there," he heard a voice say in the distance. "Wow, where did that hole come from? I've never seen that before," said another voice. "Look, there's a tunnel." "Down here! I'm down here!" yelled Derek. The sounds of climbing and scuffling through dirt and rocks came from above Derek's head. until he finally saw a light at the top of the hole he'd fallen into. "Down here," called Derek. "Alex, look at that," said one of the voices as a bright light blinded Derek's eyes. "Dude, what are you doing down there?" the voice said. "Wow, Henry, look at all those coins." A boy's head appeared in the light at the top of the hole and stared down at Derek. He had dark curly hair that fell over his ears and wore glasses. "My leg's stuck under the rocks and I can't move it," moaned Derek. "I think it's broken. I fell down here when the ledge broke through." The first boy, that the other one had called Alex, climbed carefully down into the hole and moved his light onto Derek's leg. "Man, that's gotta hurt. Let me see if I can move that rock." He reached down and tried to roll one of the larger rocks to the side. "Ah!" screamed Derek in pain. "Stop! Stop!" "I don't think I can lift it," said Alex. "It's too heavy." "You have to go get my dad," pleaded Derek. "He'll know what to do." He explained to the boys how he had been camping over in the field on the north side of the creek. Alex agreed to run off and get help. The other boy said he would stay with Derek. When Alex left the cave, the younger boy climbed back to the edge of the shelf and looked down at Derek. "I know who you are," he said. "You do?" answered Derek, confused. He'd been so worried about his leg that he hadn't given much thought to who these kids might be. "Yeah, you were climbing up there on the mine rock a few weeks ago with another kid. Alex and I tried to come over and talk to you with Bear, but the two of you raced off like the devil was chasing you. We followed you all the way to the edge of your yard, but didn't come in. You live in the house next to Old Man Haskins. I'm Henry, by the way." "Yeah, that's where we live," said Derek, trying to piece together this new information in his head. Everything was cloudy after lying in the cave for so long. "Wait a minute. Did you say that you have a bear?" "Yeah, Bear. That's our dog. He's a Newfoundland and is so big and black that everyone calls him Bear." "Oh," thought Derek, feeling dumb. He wondered why he and Sam had run away in the first place. "You thought we had a real bear?" asked Henry. "That's ridiculous." Henry shined his flashlight over to the pile of coins spilling out of the boxes. "So did you rob a bank or something?" he asked. "Why are you down there with all those coins? Can I see one?" Derek handed one of the coins up, and Henry examined it carefully under his light. "Holy mackerel!" he exclaimed. "That's an 1877 Indian head cent. I have a big coin collection, but I've never seen one of these in person before. Do you have any idea how much money that is worth? It is extremely rare." "Yeah, it's kind of a long story," answered Derek, and he proceeded to explain to Henry all that had happened. "That's unbelievable," yelled Henry. "You're like Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Well, except for the part when all the bad guys' faces melted away. You're not like that. But the part where he found the gold statue, that was awesome. You're going to be famous." "Okay, hold on a minute. I'm going to take just a tiny break. Be right back." Okay, I'm back. Derek laughed, which felt really good. He realized now how scared he had been when no one knew where he was. It was nice to have Henry there to talk with, even though he hardly knew him. It was funny and it was strange that he and Alex were the kids they'd been running from only a few weeks before. "Derek?" a voice echoed down into the passageway. It was Dad. Derek breathed a sigh of relief. Henry hopped up and ran over to the entrance of the chamber. "We're in here." Suddenly the chamber was full of noise and activity as Dad, Sam, and Alex bounded into the space. Dad's face looked worried when it appeared in the light at the top of the hole. "Derek, you okay?" Dad called as he swung his legs over the opening and lowered himself down. "Where are you stuck?" he asked. Derek pointed to his leg. "We couldn't move the rocks," Alex shouted down. "It really hurts, Dad," Derek moaned. Dad looked at the rocks and assessed the situation. "Alex, come down here next to me. I think if we both lift this rock at the same time, it will move enough for Derek to slide his leg out. Yes, sir, said Alex, and he slid back down into the hole. Dad positioned himself next to Derek's head so he could have room to lift, and Alex squatted on the other side. Okay, Derek, when we lift the rock, you pull out your leg. You ready? Derek nodded, and Dad looked up at Alex. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Dad and Alex both grunted and strained at the rock, lifted a couple of inches off the pile. Derek felt the grip on his leg loosen, and he pulled it out with a shout. He's clear. Set it down, said Dad, and they dropped the big rock down with a crack. Dad bent down and hugged Derek tight and then looked at his leg under the light. He gently put his hand on Derek's foot and tried to move it. Ow! Screamed Derek. I think it's broken. It might be, answered Dad, but I think you'll be all right. We'll have to carry you out of here. Dad let out a big sigh, wiped his forehead, and sat down on the rock next to Derek. He shined his flashlight over to the pile of coins that had spilled out from the metal box and raised his eyebrow. So, son, what have you got there? Derek picked up the coin he'd looked at before and handed it to his dad. Look, Dad, it's an 1877 Indian head cent. Can you believe it? Actually, I can't, Derek, admitted Dad. Sam filled me in on what you two have been up to lately. I'm glad you're safe, but after we get you out of here, we're going to have a talk about what kind of choices you are making when you go off on your own. Derek touched his sore leg and looked down at the ground sheepishly. He rolled a coin across the dirt and looked back up at his dad. I know. I'm sorry, Dad. Thanks for coming. What are we going to do with all these coins? Yelled Sam, leaning over the hole from above. Just look at all this treasure. Somebody call the newspaper. Call the governor. We're rich. Let's work on getting Derek out of here before we alert the press, answered Dad. Come on, son, let's get home, and then we can think about what to do with these coins. Dude, you're going to be a star, cheered Alex as they helped Derek to his feet. Derek smiled weakly and looked up at his dad. A grounded star, he mumbled as Dad raised him up out of the hole. Chapter 10, The Museum. Dad carried Derek out of the cave with some help from the other boys. Alex and Henry promised not to go back to the cave or tell anyone about the coins until the police arrived. Alex explained that they lived in the neighborhood on the other side of the woods and that they had been playing in the cave ever since they found it last summer. Neither had any idea that there was a treasure hidden within the giant rock. They both had heard stories about the stolen coins, but had figured, like most people around town, that it was just a legend and not really true. When Dad and Sam got Derek back home, Mom decided that Derek's leg was hurt more than any bandages or antiseptic could fix, so she drove him to the health clinic for an x-ray. It turned out that his ankle was fractured, and he came home later that afternoon on crutches. Normally, Derek would have hated being stuck inside in the middle of the summer, but it didn't matter much because Mom and Dad grounded him for the entire month of August. Dad said even though they were glad that he was safe, there were still consequences for his poor decisions. While Derek was at the doctor, Dad called the local police station and explained what the boys had found. The officer on the phone was suspicious that Dad was making up the story of finding the long-lost coins. He made him describe in detail exactly what they'd found and where they'd found it. He even had Dad tell the story all over again to the curator of the Virginia Museum before anyone wasted their time coming out for a wild goose chase through the woods. The curator found Dad's description of the coins convincing, so he and the police arranged to come out in the morning to see things for themselves. Next day after breakfast, Dad and Sam walked 2 officers and the museum curator, Dr. William Evanshade III, back to the cave. They led them through the passageways and showed them the box of coins in the chamber. Since he was grounded, Derek had to stay home, which didn't really seem fair since he was the one who had found the treasure. Sam even tried to argue that his brother should come, but eventually agreed with Dad that it would be hard for Derek to get back to the cave on crutches. Sam told Derek later that when the museum curator looked down in the hole and saw the coins laying there spilled on the ground, the old man nearly had a heart attack. "My golly," he exclaimed over and over. The police and the museum arranged for a crew to comb through the entire cave and surrounding woods to look for any more evidence of stolen artifacts. But they never did find anything else. The police told Dad that the caves in the boulder were, in fact, the remains of an old coal mine operated by the Virginia Mining Company, or the VMC, but that it had been closed down for over 50 years. They ordered the town engineers to send some men in to seal off the entrance to the cave so that no one else could risk getting hurt or trapped like Derek. Mom called it a lawsuit waiting to happen. Boys weren't sure what that meant, but agreed it was dangerous. Mr. Haskins wandered over from next door when he saw the police cars to see what all the commotion was about. He told the police all about how the museum security guard, Richard Davis, had once lived in the boys' house. "I always suspected that he was the culprit," declared Mr. Haskins. "He had those beady eyes, and he stole my mail. Probably stole the coins, too. He was shifty, I always said." The police learned that before Richard Davis had worked as a security guard at the museum, he worked security for the Virginia Mining Company. "He would have known all about those secret caves and passageways under the boulder," said Derek. "And that explains why he had that box and notebook with VMC written on it. He must have hidden the map for safekeeping in the compartment in the wall." "Wonder what happened to him?" asked Sam. "Why would he have left it all in the house and the mine?" "Electrocuted," barked out Mr. Haskins as he turned and started walking back to the house. "What?" asked Sam, thinking he must have heard the old man wrong. "He was zapped," yelled Mr. Haskins over his shoulder. "His toaster went berserk or something like that. Or maybe it was his washing machine or his oven. He was shifty, I tell you." "Gosh," gulped Sam in disbelief. A couple of weeks later, Dr. Evanshade called and invited the boys to a private showing of the coin collection at the museum. Despite Derek's punishment, Dad agreed to drive both boys downtown. When they arrived at the museum, Dr. Evanshade escorted them to a back room marked "Museum Staff Only," and they saw a wide metal table where the coins were being inspected and cataloged. Derek brought with him the old box and the notebook that he'd found in the secret compartment. The old curator said, "My golly," a few more times, and was thrilled with these newest additions to the collection. But the best part of the trip came right before they left. "Now, gentlemen," said Dr. Evanshade in a serious voice while looking at Derek and Sam, "there is one more item of business before you leave. Since you were the ones who discovered these rare coins, you are subject to a Virginia Antiquities finder's fee of 10% of the recovered goods." Sam looked confused. "Finder's fee? Does that mean we have to pay a fee for finding the coins?" The situation was getting worse by the minute. "We didn't steal them, sir. We just found them." No, laughed Dr. Evanshade. "A finder's fee means the money is coming to you. You get a portion." "We get a Porsche? Awesome! That's my favorite car!" exclaimed Derek. Everyone laughed. "No, I don't have any cars for you, I'm afraid," explained Dr. Evanshade. "A portion, young man, a portion. It's your reward." Sam's face brightened. "A reward? That was almost as good as a Porsche." "Wait a minute," said Derek. 10% of what? You never said how much all these coins were worth." "Well, there were over 500 coins in that metal container that you discovered. 523 to be exact. Quite an assortment of early American currency, I must say. Back in 1953, it was quite a tragedy when those coins were stolen. In fact, my father, Dr. William Evanshade Jr., was the museum curator at the time, and as a boy, I heard all about the robbery." There were quite a few rare Morgan silver dollars, shield nickels, 3-cent nickels, seated Liberty dimes, and quarters. And most impressively, there were nearly 2 dozen uncirculated 1877 Indian head cents, which, as I think you already know, are extremely rare. Overall, I valued the collection at just over $100,000. $100,000? Shouted Sam. Wow, we're rich. Wait a minute, Sam, said Dad. That's not our money. It's what the coins are worth to the museum. But 10% of 100,000, he did a quick calculation in his head. That's $10,000? That's correct, Derek, said Dr. Evanshade. $10,000. It's quite a large amount of money for 2 young men your ages. Congratulations, and thank you again on behalf of the museum and the Commonwealth of Virginia. The boys each smiled with grins as wide as the Grand Canyon when the curator handed them white envelopes with checks inside and shook their hands. It was like they'd won the lottery. Suddenly, thought Derek, his grounding didn't seem quite so bad. And that brings us to the end of this time for reading. Next time, I will read chapters 11 and 12 to you. So, I hope all is well. And I miss seeing you guys every week. But hopefully you're enjoying the story. And we'll see you again next week. Take care. Stay healthy. Bye-bye.